Welcome to Cyber Mayor of Yuma. And on this page, What's New at City Hall, we'll be looking at the most current topic of the day, and that's the investigation of the mayor. Now, we have this broken up in parts, and what follows will be part one. And for all of you folks that are just simply too busy trying to make a living to keep up with the inane circus that's going on at one city plaza, what follows will be a chronological account of this whole sorry, sordid story from the very beginning. Now, at the very first council meeting of 2012, which was held on January 4th, following Mayor Alan Krieger's State of the City address under the call to the public, the frumpy former mayor, Marilyn Young, read a prepared vitriolic statement literally awash in subjective innuendo. And following that, Councilman Jerry Stewart was so eager to please Madam Marilyn that he couldn't contain himself and wait until the appropriate point in the meeting to make a motion to put the question of investigating the mayor on a future agenda. He immediately moved to put the question, which was nothing more than a wholly political colonostomy of the mayor, on the regular scheduled council meeting of January the 18th. Now, on January the 18th, Councilman Stewart's motion failed. Let me repeat that, folks. It's important. Councilman Stewart's motion to investigate the mayor failed. Now, rather than fold up their circus tent and act in the best interest of the community, the clowns went into an absolute frenzy. And the asinine antics that followed would make San Luis look like a model city and Pinocchio a pillar of veracity. Now, from this point forward, the conspiratorial indictors in their shameless vehemence violated state law, the city charter, and city code. Now, where have we heard that before? That's right. The exact same charges that have been leveled against the mayor. Now, on January the 24th, a special meeting was called in non-compliance with city code, and it was to be held on January the 25th. And it was for the sole purpose of reconsidering Councilman Stewart's failed motion of January the 18th. Now, for you Robert's Rules of Order buffs, you know that the time for reconsideration had already passed, and that the clowns were in non-compliance of their own adopted rules of procedure. Now, the city code is clear in that special meetings can only be called by the mayor or a majority of the council. And the caller then that's referenced in paragraph A3 must be either the mayor or a member of the council. But as can be seen from the affidavit that's required by the code, and it's posted on this page, the caller for the special meeting was not a member of the council. Now, in fairness, however, the argument would be that elected officials are much too busy to be tied down with such menial secretarial tasks, and that it's accepted policy that this duty be delegated to the mayor and council administrative assistant. And again, in fairness, the city administrator said that the duty was assigned elsewhere because the mayor precluded the council's assistant from making the calls. Good for the mayor, because under Robert's Rules of Order, in order to request a reconsideration, that request must come from the prevailing side. And any reasonable thinking person would agree that if a member of the prevailing side is going to make that request for reconsideration, their identity should be made known. Certainly not secret. But yet the city administrator doggedly refused to identify who from the prevailing side made that request. And it was not until the special meeting of the 25th, and even then only after repeated queries that the administrator finally, grudgingly, mumbled that it was Councilman Edward Thomas. There now. Why should that be so difficult? You would think that the clowns would want to be in as meticulous compliance themselves as they insist on from the mayor. Now, a side note, the city administrator subsequently removed the mayor and council's administrative assistant, and we will deal with that in more detail later. Now, the most conspicuously offensive act of non-compliance with the city code is the manner of filing the affidavit of the special meeting being called. Now, as can be seen from the affidavit that's posted on this page, it states that the meeting was called in accordance with Yuma City Code 30-02A3. No, not so, not true. No, it wasn't. Paragraph A3 is clear in that the caller, the affiant, must file an affidavit with the city clerk, the taker of the affidavit. It's not the city clerk must file an affidavit with the city clerk. Simply stated, there is no provision in the city code for the city clerk to assume both the role of the filer and the filee. The question then has to be asked, how does all of this non-compliance on the part of the clowns slip past point of order? I'm a former investigator for the Border Patrol. I'm not just a councilman. I'm the Deputy Mayor Johnson. So, all of the non-compliance notwithstanding, the special meeting was held on January 25th. And again, the purpose was to simply reconsider Councilman Stewart's failed motion of January the 18th. And that motion only requested the name of a law firm, not the hiring of a law firm. Yet we know that David Penartz of Goose Rosenfeld was present at the meeting of February the 1st. And it's been reported by various attorneys in the community, to borrow a line from the city administrator, that Penartz was also present at the meeting of January 25th. And we know from the Gus Rosenfeld billing statements that Penartz was on the job for at least a week before the council voted to hire his firm. And let me repeat that. Folks, this is extremely important. The firm, Gus Rosenfeld, had been hired for at least a week before the council ever even voted to investigate. Now, how can that be? The motion on the 18th had failed. And moreover, even if the motion had passed, at that point, it only called for the name of a firm, not the hiring of a firm. I cannot repeat that enough. Not the hiring of a firm. So how did Gus Rosenfeld arrive on the scene?